Welcome. Working with AI today feels like we are building the airplane while flying it. The speed is exhilarating, the risk is real, and everyone's watching if we land it safe. McKinsey recently reported, or rather predicted, AI to generate about 4.4 trillion in annual enterprise value. However, only 1% of the companies consider themselves to be AI mature. So today in this panel, we are going to discuss what ships, what sticks, and what really pays back. I am Divya Sabade, your moderator for the panel today. I'm an AI product lead at Product School. My goal is to guide the next generation of product leaders to turn AI from the buzzwords to business value. And with me, I have an amazing panel of product leaders who are using AI to unlock the value and potential in their enterprise products. But before we head deeper or on the harder points, I want to share something fun that I learned with this crew. Amongst them, there is one leader who just committed to learn guitar. There is another one who balances off by volunteering at a farm. And there is one who lives in the wild. That's the New Zealand forest. Isn't that interesting? So while you keep guessing who's who, I'm going to take the opportunity to welcome my panelists. And I would love for you to introduce yourself to our audience. It would be great if you can tell who you are, what are the products that you're working on, and what's the superpower that you've learned in your AI journey. Sean, we could start with you.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Sean Tindale. My accent may be giving away one of the interesting facts that you heard before. So I am the Chief Product and Technology Officer for a company called Optimal. We're essentially a user experience research platform. Now what that means for product teams is we help you discover your users' pain points, their needs, their wants. We help you then package those as insights that you can disseminate across your organization, and then we help you test the potential solutions that you come up with for those problems that you want to solve. In terms of what I've been learning with AI, I chuckle because I feel like the landscape shifts every week and I'm just out of date all the time. But I've learned probably a soft skill of curiosity, and I think it's certainly what I encourage my teams to do is absolutely turn your curiosity up to 11 and be consuming every single new initiative, new innovation that's coming out. Many of them will fail, many of them won't work, but the folks that are hyper curious are the ones that are going to be really well positioned for whatever our line of work turns into in the future.
I can't agree more. I am such a curious person myself. Sometimes I'm told, stop the questions. But anyways, Tanya, we'll go next with you.
Hi, I'm Tanya Littlefield. I am VP of Marketing at Amplitude. Testing. Oh, all right. Is this on?
Yeah.
Awesome. This looked no fun anyways. Tanya Littlefield, I am the VP of Growth Marketing at Amplitude. So Amplitude is historically a product analytics product that has since sort of grown into a full platform that works across web analytics, product analytics, helping your product and marketing teams go deeper with their understanding, and then leveraging an action layer to take it further and leveraging tools like guides and surveys and experimentation to take it, into your general day-to-day. In terms of my AI superpower and what I've learned there, I would say leveraging AI within Tiger teams. and creating kind of that multiplier effect there. So Tiger teams, cross-functional teams have notoriously been a great way to move fast. And when you layer in AI in those flows, you can take those teams and make them work faster and stronger together. It also helps with adoption within your team as they see meaningful insights and outputs very quickly.
Wonderful. I love the concepts of Tiger Team. I've been one on myself, I've been put on one team and it was a great experience. So kudos to you. Can we go to USK now?
Perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Srinivas. I'm part of the product team at Dovetail. Dovetail is a customer intelligence platform that was built with a very small but key insight that most companies actually know more about their customers than they think they do. It's just that all this information, the insights that they have are stuck in different tools. So Dovetail collects all these customer interactions into one platform, digs through all this unstructured data and finds insights for you and delivers them to the right people at the right time to help you make decisions faster. So in a sense, we're on this mission to shrink the time from feedback, customer feedback, to a fix to solve the customer issue. That's the journey that we're on. And I think my superpower, much like Sean, is being curious. But I think the thing that I'm struggling with is just the number of tools that are coming out. If you're too curious, then you just can't do your day job. So I'm just trying to figure out how to balance being curious with actually doing my day job so I can get paid.
Very true, very true. To you, Sean Collins.
So Sean Collins, with the product team at Boomi. So we might be a little bit different from some of the organizations here. We use AI ourselves, but obviously one of our superpowers is to empower other organizations' AI projects and initiatives. So being able to pull that data together from an integration automation perspective through our own experience, but also being able to inform those data projects, et cetera, to really provide that context that's key in your AI projects. So from a superpower perspective, I'd say context is key, right? So that aspect of it's great that you have data, but if it's not contextually aware for the experience, who's using it, it really doesn't really provide that much benefit.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate for all the introductions. So now, as promised, we dive deeper. Executives don't want hype, they want results. But still, major AI projects kind of underdeliver, the measurements. So Tanya, we'll start with you. Growth teams often celebrate engagement lifts, but CFOs are about dollars and cents. From Amplitude's lens or in general experience, what metrics or framework do you use to convince your leadership to mention that the AI analytics is ROI positive?
Yeah, I think this is a tricky one and one that we're all trying to figure out right now, right? Because AI is ultimately the Wild West. It's hard to put it down on a piece of paper and say, here's the ROI. So I look at it in two different ways. One is internal, tools for my team. How do we make sure that finance approves those? First is adoption. We know that there's a big challenge with adoption internally. So getting an idea and getting a clear view from your team, will they actually use this? I think is one of the most important things up front. The second of which is the efficiencies gained, right? It's going to be really hard to say this equals X number of dollars right now, but if you can tie it to efficiency, you're starting to speak the finance language. When it comes to external, so how do you support your customers? How do you build the right products? I think there's a certain level of handshake that just has to happen between leaders and the finance teams right now, that the level of certainty that you're going to hit ROI, particularly in the first year, is very slim. It's about experimentation right now. It's about testing into things. And I think kind of the fact that as growth marketers, we oftentimes leave 10% of our budget for test and learn with the assumption that it could fall flat. Kind of need to do a little bit of the same with AI, but it's important that your finance team is on board with that.
Yeah, no, perfect. I think experimentation is the key. Have those bold moves, have some budget set. I think, yeah, right way to go. SK, you emphasize always on customer intelligence. How does that help to kind of close the ROI, especially from the unstructured data? and close the gap from the pilots to paybacks. What's your take on that?
Yeah. Before I get into that, though, I just feel like playing with AI is a bit like gambling. If you don't gamble, you're not going to win. But just because you gamble doesn't mean you're going to win either. So you got to just get in, play, and then much like poker or whatever. I'm not a gambler, so I'm not going to go into too many details about how to gamble. But the more information you get, you can kind of iterate. But just get in, jump in, you'll figure things out. But having said that, though, maybe I'll give a couple of examples of what we're seeing with our customers in terms of the pilots that they're doing and how these pilots are progressing to actually paid opportunities for us. One recent customer that we started working with is a fintech, and they came to us basically saying, look, we're trying to improve our voice of customer program. And their voice of customer program is one where they analyze all their support tickets and all the NPS data that's coming into the organization. Support tickets are just continuously coming in every single day, and NPS data is coming in as well. And they're processing probably more than 100,000 tickets a month. And so as part of the voice of customer program, they were supposed to analyze all these conversations that are happening and then put together a presentation for their CEO. And the amount of time that was taking for them to analyze all these calls and find the patterns was just too much. And so they could only do a voice of customer update to their customer or to their CEO once a quarter. And the CEO is always complaining that, look, man, we're growing rapidly and I want to be much closer to what our customers are saying. Can you guys speed up? And that was the context in which they reached out to us to do a pilot, with Dovetail. And so in the pilot, they loaded, 100,000 tickets from the last month data. And in less than an hour, we were able to tell them, hey, what are the key topics and themes that your customers are telling you about? And what are the trends, what's happening week over week, month over month, stuff like that. And then they can even slice and dice the data based on metadata, plans, and products that they have. And so for them, they're able to now kind of do a voice of customer update to their CEO once a month. They can go even faster if they needed to. And so that's the kind of impact that they're having. And that's from our customer base. And then maybe I can share a couple of examples internally for us. We're obviously using AI as well. And earlier this year, we decided to have a rule within our engineering team where 100% of our engineers need to use AI, vibe coding. A couple of people kind of are dragging their heels, but now everybody does it. And we're seeing about 20 to 30% uptick in terms of how quickly we're able to ship stuff to our customers. And I think one of the interesting side effects for us is now a lot of our designers actually have access to GitHub and VS Code and stuff. And we see designers actually fixing some bugs as well. And just recently, we gave access to a couple of our support team, and they're actually fixing bugs as well, right? We didn't think about that as a use case when we started on this journey. But once we got stuck into it, we were like, hey, this actually allows a lot more people to actually, fix issues. So that's the kind of impact that it's having. But the key is you got to jump in. You got to try. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, perfect. The lines are blurring for sure. So I'll move towards the next part, which is scaling these pilots, right? So many enterprise can run the successful pilots, but basically when you try to scale, there are roadblocks like compliance, integration, trust. So Boomi sits right at the intersection. So Sean, my question's for you. What is the biggest blocker in scaling the AI integrations?
Yeah, it's a good question. Some of the aspects there, and obviously there's just the acquisition of the data itself and having connectivity to it. So where it exists, the shape of the data, making sure you can start to coalesce that in a central location or at least conjugate it centrally. So that could be the patterns of your typical API integration. It could be unstructured data. It could even be zero copy where you're trying to access data where it resides. So that's one aspect, is just the connectivity to it, but then there's the actual, I think the inhibitor is trust, right? So trust is a big factor of, it's great to be able to empower your AI framework, but if it's crap data, it's crap decisions, right? Excuse my language. But that being said, we do have kind of our own tooling to be able to support that, but obviously there are other vendors out there. But the aspect to be able to centrally define the consistency of the data, make sure it's of good quality, and be able to provide that back to inform your decision making is key. And just kind of building on the trust aspect is once you inject that decision making back into your processes as automation, there's a trust of letting go, right? There's this agentic automation focus. As you start to make that autonomous, there is a piece of human in the loop which gets lost. So there is a bit of a trust of letting go and letting AI take over. So there's got to be some validation there and to be able to establish that trust. But I think really trust is probably the big thing of like letting go with the quality of data and from the decision-making process.
Yeah, no, perfect. Data is the foundation, and trust, I mean, there's no value without trust. That's actually my next segment coming up, but you said it. Okay, awesome. So now, Sean Tindale. Leadership often demands ROI projections before scaling, but AI is inherently ambiguous. So how do you sell experiments internally without overpromising?
Yeah, it's a great question because I don't think that ambiguity is going away anytime soon, especially with the landscape changing week by week. So if you are doing experiments in your enterprise, you're in good shape from the start. I think it's great if you have that experimentation culture in your enterprise. I think the enterprises that are experimenting right now are the ones that are going to win, that we'll still be talking about in 10 years' time. In terms of getting experimentations across the line and selling them, I think I would be thinking about how do you speak the language of the senior stakeholders around your projects. And often they're thinking risk. Senior stakeholders in enterprises, a lot of the time, large portions of their role involve managing risk. So I would sort of flip the conversation rather from experimentation. I certainly don't particularly use the word, oh, hey, we're going to fail fast and these sorts of things. That can freak some folks out in enterprises. And I'd be talking about, well, here's how we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, and we're going to de-risk this, we're going to learn this, we're going to see if this is feasible or not, and we're going to do it really quickly. And that's going to evaporate risk from our program of work. And then the other thing I would be thinking about is another benefit, which is not necessarily, again, talking about, oh, we will fail fast and that'll be good, is rather flip the conversation again to what are we going to learn as a result of this experiment. We may not get the outcome that we like, but we sure as hell are going to learn something, and that learning is going to help us be set up for success for our next experiment, potentially.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway. I mean, learning is the outcome nowadays. So, yeah. Awesome. So we all know that AI isn't a workflow enabler anymore. We use AI to kind of build products and deliver products now. So coming back to you, SK, Dovetail integrates with Gong, Intercom, Salesforce. How does this seamless integration kind of accelerate ROI? Can you spread some light on that?
Yeah. So the way we think about customer intelligence is every interaction that somebody in your company has with a customer, there's actually some interesting insights that are coming in, right? So when salespeople talk to customers or prospects, you're getting some insights from the market. You're probably finding out about your competitors, the value prop of your product. All that stuff is captured. It's probably on a Zoom call or in Gong or Zoom somewhere. It's hiding there. CS people are talking to customers all the time. You get a lot of feedback through them. Support tickets are coming in. That's another source of insights that are coming in. NPS data is another one. Your PMs hopefully are talking to customers. If not, fire them. But so like there's all these people who are talking to customers, but there's no one place where you can go to like actually figure out what your customers are saying. And that's what we're trying to do. And so for us, I'll give you a very personal example. We recently launched 3 new products. And as a product guy, I'm trying to figure out like, hey, what is the feedback about these 3 products from the market? And without a product like Dovetail, I probably would have to go talk to multiple sales reps. I probably would have to go talk to like multiple CS folks to say, hey, what are people saying? What are the common themes? And I'll have to connect the dots. But with Dovetail, we're able to create, now with agents, I have created an agent that basically at the end of each week, basically looks through all the conversations that our sales team has had, our customer success team has had, and say, for this product, what are customers saying about this? What are the key challenges that they're talking about? What's resonating, what's not resonating? And I just get an email where I can actually like read through that. And I can also get I get in a podcast format, so I usually listen to that on my drive into work on Fridays. And it's a good way for me to like keep track of what's happening with the market without me having to do all the work, right? And I think, I'm obviously the oldest dude here, and probably older than all you guys by 100 years. But like when I was an ICPM, the thing that I was taught is, man, if you're not spending 25 to 30% of your time talking to customers, you have no freaking idea what you're asking for.
Yep.
And I do that. Even now, I spend a lot of my time talking to customers, but despite that, I can't talk to everybody.
Yeah.
But somebody is, and how can I learn from them is really the ROI that we're getting by integrating with these systems.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. Tanya, I'll move back to you. So analytics used to tell us what happened, but AI promises to tell us what to do next. What's your take on how analytics is evolving towards a prescriptive or even an autonomous decision making, coming back to agents part?
Yeah, that's a great question. Is this working? Hello? Okay, now it's working. I'm just getting ready these days. So, at Amplitude, we're really focused in on this and trying to understand also how to bring the qualitative and quantitative together so that your predictive analytics or your forward-looking analytics isn't just kind of in a silo based off of one type of data. Predictive analytics has been around for a while, but notoriously it's required data scientists, a whole bunch of complex work. And one of the great things about AI is, provided that your data is in a good place in the first place, you can get to that, what to do next a lot faster.
Yeah.
So that's something that we've worked on very hard as we've kicked off our agentic AI focus. And so we're leveraging a combination of the quantitative data that's coming in, but also the qualitative and a little bit in between. So a good example of this is, my team's still going to do this, but we have session replay parties where when we launch an experiment, launch a new feature, everybody gets together around a table for an hour during lunch and looks at how customers are actually using this thing and have a commentary back and forth. The thing is that there's thousands of people doing this. So now we have AI that can go through the thousands and thousands, create a recap. We can still go through the data, but we're working faster and smarter. So things like that. So, the AI is just helping you get there a little bit faster. And then in the perfect world, it's also helping you build experiments to get to the next level. But I'll go back to what these guys said on trust and safety, right? Like, I don't want to push anything from an agent live on our website without getting a little bit of human intervention first to make sure that it's the right thing. Yeah. When we were first kicking off some of our agentic work, we said, put a button here on the homepage. It made the button the entire size of the homepage. Right?
Oh my God.
So without the right prompts, without the right information, AI is not going to 100% get you there right now. So we make sure that anytime there is an experiment or there is an agentic recommendation, we QA it a little bit and then hit the button. Still saving us time, but it makes sure that we're doing things safely.
Yep, totally. So I like to make things simple. So I think AI agents as minions. Just keep them in control. That's how I think about them. It's easy to remember. Awesome. So value means nothing without trust, especially in this AI world. And with the EU AI Act rolling in, all the companies are getting a little shaky to do the deployments responsibly. So we'll move to the important part, which is the guardrails, risks, and stuff. So I would start with Sean Tindale. When requirements are unclear, how do you balance innovation with strong guardrails and governance?
Yeah, great question. And requirements really are unclear now, aren't they? Because often our users don't know what is possible with AI, and we need to show them. So I think I'd like to lean into the experimentation ethos again on this one, because I think having the right guardrails up front with your experimentation culture is really, really important. So understanding, in the case of enterprise, what do we need to do with PII? What are the boundaries to our experimentation, and what can and can't we do with this data? Having those conversations up front, and then perhaps following it with some of the things I mentioned earlier about how do you sell the experimentation. And then I think another great way to extract those requirements that you're not going to get in a traditional sense is actually not even try, and it's actually to test. We have some wonderful prototyping technologies available to us as product folks nowadays. Vibe coding, if anyone's not leaning into vibe coding in a big way right now, I suggest you really do that. I actually see the profession of product management right shifting, and that's the first time in my career I've talked about right shifting rather than left shifting. And the way that we as risk managers are de-risking is experimentation and testing. And it's actually one of the reasons why at Optimal we have been slowly evolving our platform more towards the right and integrating with some of the most popular vibe coding tools out there and bringing a heavy testing kind of methodology to product folks where you can replay their interactions with your prototypes and hear the voice of the user telling you what works and what doesn't work, perhaps giving you your requirements directly from their mouth. And so that's a massive focus of ours going forward at Optimal.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Sean Collins, when the integration touches sensitive data, what safeguard or eval practices do you rely on before scaling to enterprise levels?
Yeah, it's a good point. You mentioned like the EU as an example up front. That's something that we're kind of conjugating in our own minds today is the data residency, data sovereignty concerns. Obviously, kind of brought to the forefront, particularly with AI leveraging so much metadata. Typically, the challenges before were the customer data, what was being processed. Now, there's so much value in the metadata that is of heightened awareness. So we're making investments to address kind of data sovereignty from a data governance perspective foundationally. But then you get into the aspect of what am I allowed to do, authorization, authentication perspective of who is the target user who will be using these, the AI or the agents. So you mentioned guardrails. That's an example of what are the safe holds you put in place around your agents. But then you also need to think about the user experience. What is the context of that AI that's going to be leveraged? Is it okay to use system-based authentication, or do you really need to be aware of the context of who the user is who's executing that? Because that brings a whole, kind of a worm that goes down into the depths of your architecture to understand, are they able to do all these pieces that are being kind of orchestrated together as agents and making sure that's honored.
Yep. No, great point. So awesome. Now we would like to wrap up our panel with some fun buzzword game. So
Yikes.
is that good? Okay. So right now, enterprise AI ROI often comes either to cost savings or to productivity gains. But the real price ahead is differentiation, new revenue, or maybe something else. So in one phrase or less, few words, where do you see AI ROI shifting in the next 3 to 5 years? Sean, I'll start with you.
All right.
You have 30-second timer.
I'm going to say contextual knowledge and orchestration.
Okay, great.
Yeah, whatever he said.
Okay, that's +1 on that. Tanya.
Tied to the customer journey and experience.
Awesome, awesome. That's a good one. Sean.
Hyper personalization, experiences that are precise to your user, increase customer satisfaction, more
And you
revenue.
cannot speak more.
Yeah, what he said as well. I'm going to add.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So what a conversation, and I think the takeaway is clear. The enterprise that move fast but govern smart will capture the AI ROI first. Thank you, Tanya, SK, both Sean's. And thank you for being such a lovely audience. Let's keep pushing beyond the hype and deliver value.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.